"You can fire him," the little girl said, her voice steady on the crackling phone. "But who'll read to me now?" In 4 words, the billionaire remembered everything he had spent a lifetime trying to forget. Nathan Hale stood at the top of the Hale Tech building, 58 stories above the world, in an office built with floor-to-ceiling glass. From here, he could see the whole city. He often joked that he preferred looking down at it. It saved him from having to care what happened inside of it. His morning began like any other. Calendar, coffee, control. "Nathan, line 3, HR." He nodded once, eyes not leaving the screen. A quarterly profit report. Profits were up. Employee morale? Probably not. He hit the speakerphone. "Problem?" "Minor," the HR rep said. "Janitor, Enrique Rivera. 3rd shift. Found sleeping in the lower lounge. We pulled camera footage. It's not the first time." Nathan didn't even blink. "Fire him." Silence on the other end. "You're not going to hear his side?" HR asked. "I don't pay people to nap. Make it clean. End of day." Click. Nathan closed the file. Another problem solved. Another weak link removed. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that this problem was about to unearth a part of him he thought he'd buried forever. Downstairs, in the dim-lit service corridor, 9-year-old Lily Rivera sat cross-legged on the floor, clutching a beat-up copy of Charlotte's Web. Her father's voice echoed gently as he read aloud, seated on an overturned cleaning bucket. "You have been my friend. That in itself is a tremendous thing." She smiled and leaned into his shoulder. Enrique was late for his rounds. Again. His body ached. His feet throbbed. But Lily's mother had passed 2 years ago from an aneurysm, and there was no one to watch her overnight. The job didn't pay enough for childcare, so Lily came with him. No one noticed a janitor's daughter in the basement of a tech empire. Until today. That afternoon, Nathan's assistant brought a file to sign. He skimmed it. Termination documents for Enrique Rivera. He froze. Something odd was scribbled under next of kin, Lily Rivera. Daughter. Age 9. Nathan blinked. A child. He stared at the page. Something in him tightened, but he couldn't place what. He pushed the file aside. "Tell HR I'll call the janitor myself." Later, in the quiet of his office, Nathan dialed the number listed. It rang. A voice answered. Not a man's, a little girl's. "Hello?" Nathan hesitated. "Is Enrique Rivera available?" There was a long pause. He heard a shuffle. Then the girl's voice again. "He's asleep. He always gets tired after reading." Nathan almost ended the call, but then the girl added something. 4 simple words. "You can fire him." He paused, startled. "But who'll read to me now?" Silence. The line went dead. He sat still, hand frozen over the phone. The city buzzed outside his window, cars crawling like ants, people moving like meaningless pixels. But those 4 words wouldn't leave him. "Who'll read to me now?" His father used to read to him, before the accident, before the silence in their mansion grew louder than the wind outside. His chest tightened. "Sir?" His assistant poked her head in. "Everything all right?" Nathan blinked. "Cancel the termination." "Excuse me?" "I said cancel it." Have you ever misjudged someone, only to realize later there was a whole world behind their silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The next morning, Nathan walked into his corner office, as if nothing had changed. Routine was his fortress: coffee, emails, market briefs, morning status meeting at 8:30 sharp. He told himself the night before had been a fluke, an emotional misfire. Maybe he was tired. Maybe the girl reminded him of, well, no one. He buried it. But when his assistant walked in with his schedule, Nathan caught himself glancing toward the security feed monitor on her tablet, specifically the night shift cam. He scowled and turned away. Down in the sublevels, Enrique arrived for his shift earlier than usual. He had expected an email from HR, a follow-up call, a pink slip. But nothing had come. Still, he kept his head down. His goal was simple: stay invisible. Lily wasn't with him tonight. He'd asked a neighbor, a sweet older woman, to watch her. He couldn't risk her being around anymore, not if this job was in jeopardy. But his hand shook as he clocked in. He felt watched, not by the cameras but by something heavier, a question he didn't know how to answer. Why had the CEO changed his mind? He couldn't shake the thought, what kind of billionaire takes the time to speak to a janitor's child? Unless it wasn't about Lily at all, unless it was about something he needed. Later that night, Nathan sat in his penthouse apartment, staring at a photograph he kept hidden in his bottom desk drawer. It was an old Polaroid. A boy of about 10 sat next to a man with silver-streaked hair, both reading a book on a porch swing. His father. They hadn't spoken in over 25 years, not since the accident. "You can fire him," the girl had said. His father had said something similar once. "You can take away people's jobs, son, but if you do it without understanding their lives, you're not leading, you're erasing." Nathan had erased a lot of people. He poured himself a drink. By the end of the week, Enrique had heard nothing more from HR, but the silence felt ominous. Every time he walked past the executive elevator, he half expected security to be waiting. Until one evening, around 11:30 p.m., that elevator dinged, and the doors opened, and Nathan Hale stepped out. Enrique nearly dropped his mop. "Mr. Hale?" "I'm not here to check your work," Nathan said quickly, eyes darting to the floor like he regretted being there. Enrique said nothing. Nathan cleared his throat. "Do you usually bring your daughter with you?" "I don't have a choice." "Where's her mother?" "How long gone?" 2 years." Nathan nodded stiffly. Then, almost mechanically, he asked, "Why didn't you ask for help?" Enrique gave a short laugh, tired, not amused. "People like me don't ask people like you for help. We ask not to be noticed." Nathan stared at him, and for the first time in years he didn't know what to say. He left, just like that. Turned and walked back into the elevator. But that sentence would stick with him, like a splinter lodged in his conscience. We ask not to be noticed. Back upstairs, Nathan stood alone again in his glass tower. But for once the view felt empty. The city he'd built his empire over no longer looked like lights and numbers. It looked like faces. Have you ever built walls to protect yourself, only to find they were keeping you from seeing what really mattered? It started with a broken pipe. At 11:47 p.m., a third-floor water main burst, flooding the east wing and causing a near blackout in the building's security system. Facility services paged every maintenance employee on call, including Enrique. But it wasn't just janitorial. The server room on that floor managed Hailtech's live trading operations, and when the company's executive systems went down, someone had to authorize a physical security override. Only 2 people had that clearance. One was out of town. The other was Nathan Hale. Nathan arrived in a long wool coat, collar up against the rain, face unreadable. He was not happy to be there at midnight, and less happy to find Enrique Rivera already working, soaked through, pants rolled, unclogging drains by hand. "You," Nathan said, approaching the chaos. Enrique looked up, blinking through grime. "Mr. Hale, I didn't know—" Nathan cut him off. "Server rooms on this floor?" "Yes, but the hallway's knee-deep." Nathan waded past him without another word, shoes ruined instantly. 10 minutes later, they stood across from each other in the backup server room, only 2 dry towels between them. "So," Nathan said as they both began drying off, "we're trapped here for at least 3 hours." Enrique shrugged. "Happens?" Nathan raised a brow. "That's your response?" "I've had worse nights." "Like bringing your daughter to work and hoping no one finds out?" Enrique stiffened. Nathan regretted the jab the moment it left his mouth. Old habits die hard. But then Enrique surprised him. "I used to be an engineer," he said quietly. "Mechanical, built elevator systems, designed hydraulic platforms. You probably rode one of mine in the Dubai project you acquired 3 years ago." Nathan looked up slowly. "What happened?" "My wife got sick. The hospital bills swallowed us whole. I stopped designing systems and started cleaning the ones I used to build." Nathan didn't speak. because that story sounded too familiar, not the details, but the fall. Time passed slowly in the server room, the silence between them no longer hostile but not friendly either, just heavy. Finally, Nathan spoke. "My dad died driving me to school." Enrique looked up, surprised. Rainy day. I wanted him to come, even though he had meetings. We spun out. I survived. He didn't. A long pause. I think that's when I stopped believing in being needed by anyone. Enrique said nothing, just nodded, as if to say, "Now I see you." Around 3 a.m., a maintenance officer knocked. The hallway was clear, systems rebooting. The crisis was over. But Nathan lingered. Before he left, he said, "I'm assigning your daughter a private scholarship." Enrique blinked. "What?" "I want her to have choices you didn't." Enrique's voice was hoarse. "Why would you do that?" Nathan hesitated, then said quietly, "Because she gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost." The rain returned 2 nights later. Not a storm, just that steady kind of drizzle that made concrete glisten and ghosts stir. Enrique walked Lily to school that morning, fingers wrapped tight around hers. Nathan's words still echoed in his mind. "I'm assigning your daughter a private scholarship." It felt impossible. And yet by the time he arrived at work, there was an envelope in his locker. No name. Just embossed Hailtech stationery. Inside, a typed letter. Formal, legal, real. A full scholarship to Westbridge Academy. One of the best private schools in the city. Uniform stipend, books covered, transportation arranged, no strings attached. Enrique stood staring at it for a long time. Then, slowly, tears rolled down his cheeks. Not because someone gave him a gift, but because someone saw his child and believed she deserved more. Meanwhile, Nathan sat at his desk, fingers hovering over his keyboard. He'd tried to write the email 10 times, a single sentence. "Would you both have dinner with me this weekend?" He kept deleting it. Why was this so hard? He'd dined with presidents, negotiated billion-dollar acquisitions. But asking a janitor and his daughter to dinner made his palms sweat. It wasn't the logistics, it was what it meant. Opening his door, his home, was a kind of intimacy he hadn't dared in decades. He poured himself a drink instead. But when he looked up at the photo on his desk, his father and younger self frozen in that one happy swing-set moment, he knew what he had to do. Saturday night. Rain again. Enrique and Lily stood in front of Nathan's towering apartment building under a too-small umbrella. "I don't think we belong here," Enrique murmured. Lily looked up at him. "You said that when we went to the fancy dentist, and I got 2 stickers." He chuckled despite himself. When they entered the penthouse, Lily gasped audibly. It wasn't the size, it was the silence. "Big, expensive, empty?" "Where is everyone?" she asked. Nathan stepped in from the hallway. "It's just me." Enrique shifted awkwardly. "You live here alone?" Nathan nodded. "I used to tell myself I liked it this way. Now, I'm not so sure." Dinner was quiet at first. Lily filled the silence with stories. School projects, her favorite book, the time she made soup taste like glue. Nathan listened. He didn't check his phone once. Then, Lily wandered toward the bookshelves lining the walls. "Your library's dusty," she said honestly. Enrique stifled a laugh. Nathan smiled. "No one reads to me anymore." Lily paused, then picked up a book. "Do you want me to?" The air shifted. Nathan hesitated. Then, quietly, "Yes." After she was asleep on the couch, wrapped in a plush blanket far too big for her, Nathan poured 2 cups of coffee. "Why did you really do this?" Enrique asked. Nathan sat across from him. "You want the polished answer or the real one?" "Real." Nathan took a long breath. "I had a younger sister once, Chloe. She was 6. She died 2 months after my father. A heart defect. We didn't even know she had it." Enrique's eyes widened. "I stopped believing in connection after that. Everyone I loved vanished. I built a company to outrun that feeling, and it worked. Until a little girl asked me who would read to her. Silence. Enrique leaned forward, voice softer. You're not alone, you know. Not really. We're all just walking wounded, trying not to bleed on anyone. Nathan exhaled, and for the first time in over 20 years, he didn't feel like a CEO. He just felt human. The next week brought a strange new rhythm. Every few nights after Enrique's shift and Lily's school day, the elevator at Hailtech's executive level would open, and out walked two guests that didn't belong to the world of suits and six-figure watches. Enrique always holding a paper bag of leftovers, and Lily, usually carrying a book tucked under her arm. They'd visit Nathan's office, not for business, but for something else entirely. Time. It started simply. Lily would sit in Nathan's reading nook while he finished emails. Enrique would clean quietly in the background, pretending not to watch his daughter gently reteaching a billionaire how to smile. And Nathan? He began to look forward to those evenings, to the creak of Lily climbing onto the leather chair, to the way Enrique would roll his eyes but couldn't stop smiling when she made jokes, to the stories, ones without profit margins or mergers, just life. One night, after a long pause in her reading, Lily asked, Mr. Hale, why don't you have any toys? Nathan blinked. I don't have kids. Did you forget to get some before you grew up? Enrique chuckled. Nathan looked genuinely stunned. Maybe he had. The next day, Nathan made a call. The day after that, Lily arrived to find a plush teddy bear sitting on her usual seat, a note around its neck. For the girl who remembered what I forgot. She squealed and hugged it tight. I'm naming him Mr. H. Nathan looked up from his desk. H? For Hale. Duh. He blinked, then laughed. A real, unguarded laugh. That night, after Lily fell asleep with Mr. H on the couch, Enrique joined Nathan on the rooftop balcony. They shared a beer. Quiet. No tension. Just air. Why me? Enrique finally asked. Out of all your employees, all the people you've seen and dismissed, why did my daughter stop you cold? Nathan took a long breath. She reminded me of my sister. Not just how she looked, but how she saw me, even when I didn't want to be seen. Enrique nodded. She has that effect. She still sleeps with the light on? Enrique smirked. She says it helps the shadows stay small. Nathan stared at the city lights below them. That's beautiful. Enrique sipped his drink. What do you do to keep the shadows small? Nathan's answer came slower. I stopped. After a while, I just let them grow. I thought that made me strong. And now? Nathan glanced back toward the couch where Lily slept peacefully. I'm rethinking everything. A week later, a Saturday afternoon, they all met at a park. Lily ran ahead, chasing pigeons, while the two men sat on a bench nearby. I keep expecting you to go back to the guy from the phone call, Enrique said honestly. Cold, efficient, done. Nathan shrugged. So do I, but I don't want to. Enrique studied him. So what do you want? Nathan looked out across the grass. A reason to come home to something that isn't just square footage. He looked Enrique in the eye. Do you think it's possible for someone like me to start again? Enrique didn't answer with words. He reached into his bag, pulled out a thermos and handed it over. Coffee, he said. Strong, real, from home. Nathan took it, smelled it. It wasn't luxury roast, but it was warm, grounded, human. Has someone ever reminded you of a part of yourself you thought was gone forever? Tell us in the comments. It started with a headline. Hailtech CEO accused of favoritism after granting janitor's daughter private school scholarship. Under it, grainy zoom lens photos. Nathan walking beside Lily near the school gates, Enrique holding her hand. A snapshot of them leaving Nathan's penthouse on a rainy night. The article twisted it into a scandal. Sources claim questionable relationship between Hale and Rivera family. Is the CEO hiding a secret daughter? Nepotism or new philanthropy? Nathan stared at the screen in silence. The press had always nipped at his heels. But this felt cruel, twisted, poisoned. Worse, Lily's name was in it. Her school was mentioned. So was Enrique's home neighborhood. They had been exposed. He slammed his laptop shut and dialed PR. "I want it taken down. Every outlet. Now." The team scrambled. Apologies. Damage control. But it was already out. Enrique didn't hear about it until the next morning, when 3 reporters showed up at the building's service entrance. He shielded Lily with his coat, rushed her into the lobby, and turned to find 2 cameras filming him. "Mr. Rivera, are you in a relationship with Nathan Hale? Are you selling access to your daughter for benefits? Was the scholarship a payout?" Enrique froze, jaw clenched. Not for himself, but for Lily, now trembling behind him. That night he didn't clock in. He called out for the first time in years. Nathan came to find them the next day. He stood outside Enrique's apartment for 10 minutes before knocking. The door opened just a crack. "I didn't leak it," Nathan said quietly. "I know," Enrique replied. "Then let's talk." Enrique stepped outside, shutting the door behind him. His voice was low, firm. "Do you know what it's like to work your whole life to protect something small and sacred, only to have it turned into gossip?" Nathan sighed. "This wasn't my plan." "I don't care about plans," Enrique snapped. "I care about my daughter. She didn't ask for any of this. She didn't cause any of this." "No, you did," Enrique said, voice breaking. "You walked into our lives with good intentions and a broken heart, and you lit a match you didn't know how to control." Nathan's jaw tightened. "I wanted to help. I didn't ask for help. I asked for dignity." Silence. Painful. Loud. Finally, Enrique said, "We need space, for now." Nathan didn't argue. He just nodded, turned, and walked away. That night, Lily placed Mr. H, the teddy bear Nathan gave her, at the foot of her bed. She didn't sleep with him. She didn't cry. But before she turned off the light, she whispered into the dark. He forgot again. Nathan sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the untouched dinner set for 3. 2 chairs remained empty. The city lights below flickered, but he didn't see them. All he saw was absence. The apartment was too quiet. For the first time in months, Nathan heard the hum of his refrigerator. He sat in the living room, untouched dinner on the table, the 3rd chair still there, empty, waiting, foolish. He hadn't realized how loud joy was until it was gone. He hadn't realized how warm Lily's laughter made his office feel, or how grounding Enrique's quiet presence had been in a world of noise. Now he felt like a man exiled from something he'd only just begun to believe in. He picked up the bear. Mr. H still smelled like strawberry shampoo, still wore the ribbon Lily tied around his neck the night she said, "He's part of the family now." Nathan stared at it for a long time, then he whispered, "I don't want to forget again." Across town, Enrique sat at his kitchen table, forehead in his hands. Lily sat across from him, coloring silently. But she wasn't drawing animals or sunshine this time. She was drawing Mr. Hale, standing alone in a big glass room with the moon outside and no one else inside. She slid it across the table. "He looks lonely." Enrique stared at it. "Did he hurt you?" he asked softly. Lily shook her head. "Did he scare you?" "No." "Then why are you sad?" She put her crayon down. "Because people who forget how to be loved end up forgetting how to stay." He closed his eyes. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Enrique opened his old laptop. He stared at the blinking cursor, then typed, "I don't know if you're the same man you were on the phone that day, but I'm not the same janitor, and Lily's not the same little girl. If we come back, will you be ready to stay?" He hovered over the send button for a long time. Then he clicked. Nathan received the email at 3:02 a.m. He didn't respond with words. Instead, he packed a box. Inside, he placed a small photo, one of him and his sister Chloe on that porch swing long ago. He placed Mr. H beside it. Then, he added something else, a handwritten letter. Later that morning, Lily opened the door to find a package addressed just to her. She opened it slowly, carefully. inside the bear, and a note in looping, uneven handwriting. You reminded me how to stay. If you'll still have me, I'd like to come home too. Lily held the letter to her chest. That night, Enrique walked with her up the steps to Hailtech. No press, no cameras, just heartbeats. When the executive elevator opened, Nathan stood waiting in the hallway. He looked at Enrique first, then at Lily, then back at Enrique. No words, just a look, a question, a hope. Enrique nodded once. Nathan exhaled and smiled. It wasn't the grand gesture that made the difference. It wasn't the dinner Nathan cooked from a recipe card he'd never used before, or the guest room he'd quietly transformed into a space full of books and stars on the ceiling. It was the way Lily walked in that night, no hesitation, no fear, and took his hand, like nothing had ever broken. Enrique lingered in the doorway longer. This wasn't just Nathan's home anymore. It was a beginning. You still don't know how to cook, do you? Enrique teased. Nathan smirked. I didn't say it was edible, just heartfelt. They shared a laugh. Not loud, but real. Later, they sat on the balcony, city lights flickering below like stars scattered in glass. Lily slept peacefully inside. Nathan turned to Enrique. You could work anywhere, you know. You're still an engineer. You didn't lose that. Enrique nodded. Maybe, but it's not about the job anymore. He looked at Nathan. It's about what feels like home. Nathan swallowed. And does this? Enrique didn't answer right away, then said, It's starting to. The next morning, Nathan walked Lily to school, not with security, just as himself. A tall man in a grey sweater, holding the hand of a little girl who used to read to him. As they reached the gate, she stopped. Can I ask you something? She said. He crouched beside her. Anything. What were the 4 words that made you sad? Nathan smiled, then whispered, You already know them. A week later, Nathan made an announcement at Hailtech. For the first time in company history, the CEO would be launching a full family support initiative, free childcare, elder support, and education stipends for low-income staff. He didn't give a speech. He just said, We're not just a business, we're people, and people deserve to be seen. No one clapped at first. Then one person stood. Then 2. Then all of them. Enrique received a formal offer the next day, not to clean the building, but to lead the new Human Resilience Initiative at Hailtech. He took it, but not for the title. He took it because his daughter now had more bedtime stories than he could count. And because the man in the glass tower had finally come down to meet the world again. On a rainy night, almost a year later, Lily sat in the same reading nook at Nathan's place, legs swinging. She looked up and asked, You still remember what I said on the phone that day? Nathan smiled. I'll never forget. She leaned against him. Good. And then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, she whispered, Daddy? Nathan's heart stopped. Enrique stood in the hallway. He didn't flinch. He didn't correct her. He just nodded once. Nathan gathered her into his arms and whispered back, I'll read to you now. Have you ever found love or family where you least expected it? Share your story below. Maybe, like Nathan, you weren't meant to be alone. Maybe none of us are.